All right. Good morning, brothers and sisters. It's been a little while since I put out a video, but this morning I want to put out a video, and this one is going to be about how God's sovereignty and how his commands haven't changed from the beginning, from the very beginning. And so we're going to start in Genesis chapter 1. And I've got 7 other places to go while going through this video. So hopefully it doesn't take too long, but we're going to get started. Okay, first of all, I'm going to go to the very top, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. I want to talk about that because in everything, there's a heaven and an earth. There's a ruling class and there's a ruled. There's a heaven above and an earth below. We have an inner man. If we're born from Christ, of Christ, then we have Christ as our inner man, and we have an outer man that must be ruled. So God's sovereignty in the fact that he created a heaven and an earth and everything. Let's go on down and look at when he created man and see if it shows a heaven and an earth. Okay, we're going to go down to verse 26. Remember, let's see if it shows a heaven and an earth, a ruling class and a ruled. And God said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." You see, he gave us literal dominion over the physical earth. The fowls of the air, the cattle, the creeping things. And I want you to think of this as internally, not just externally, internally. You have a heaven within. Remember, you have a Christ within and an outer man that wants to do his will, or a beast that's the outer man that wants to do his own will. Let's look through some of these words. He says, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. I want you to remember that too. Male and female created he them. You see, the woman is supposed to be submissive to the male. And if you've studied any at all, you'll realize that we, as believers, are the bride or the wife of Christ. And Christ is the inner man. So we have an inner man and an outer woman, if you will, because we're the bride of Christ. So as the group of believers, being the feminine, we're supposed to be under submission. The outer man is supposed to be in submission to the inner man. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful." Let's see if God's commands go through the whole Bible. God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. And to you, man, it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. All right, let's go up here and look through here. He created him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply." Okay, we're going to go and we're going to look at be fruitful. Let's look at it first of all. Be fruitful. Let's look at the word. Be fruitful. It says to bear fruit. Remember, we're supposed to have the Spirit, and the Spirit, there's fruits that come from the Spirit. That's the internal. Okay? So we're supposed to bear fruit, correct? Let's go look over here in John and see if we're still supposed to be bearing fruit, if that's changed. Let's go to John chapter 15, verse 16. And it says in verse 16, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit." Remember, I didn't go through to this, but you can go to chapter 3 chapter 2 of Genesis, and God places the man eastward, sets him in the garden. Okay? "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you to set, to put, to place." Let's look at this. To lay, place, or set. Remember, he placed us in the garden and told us to bear fruit and tend the trees. To place, lay, set, fix, or establish. All right. "You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that..." He ordained you for that purpose, "that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever you ask of the Father in his authority, in his name, in my name, or in God, in Jesus' name, he will give it thee." He says, "and bring forth much fruit." Let's look at this fruit. No different than it said in Genesis, fruit. Fruit, deed, action, result. So we're supposed to bring forth not only fruit by speaking the words of truth and other people and God opening their ears and then hearing it, but we're also supposed to bring forth the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, patience, gentleness, kindness, meekness. There's no law against these. We're supposed to bring forth these fruit. Okay, let's go back to Genesis 1 and look. Okay, we've gone to fruitful. Let's go look here. It says, "Be fruitful and multiply." Let's go look and see. "And replenish." Let's look up multiply. Multiply. To be or become much, many, or great. Okay, let's go ahead and look up replenish. Replenish is to be full or to fill. Okay, we're going to go first. We're going to go and look at multiply. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 28 and verse 19 and 20. It says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name or the authority of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world." See, that's multiplying, isn't it? If you're baptizing all nations and you're producing fruit in them. He says, "Teach them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you." So you're teaching them to bear fruit. You're teaching them to be submissive to God. And you're baptizing them. And I'm not going to dig into baptize. If you've been here at the channel anytime at all, you know bapto comes from the word baptize comes from the word bapto and baptizo. And bapto means to cover or to stain with a dye. And baptizo means to cover all over. So we're supposed to be covered all over with a stain or a dye, which is God's authority, not water. Okay, so let's go on here. Let's look further. He said to multiply. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 13, and 13, 1 through 9. And we're going to read that real fast. Actually, I don't think we're going to read the entire thing. We'll just read down here at the bottom. And it says, But others. This is the story of the seeds. Remember the seed, okay? Because that's going to be important coming up. The seed. It says, but other seed fell into good ground. The earth. And brought forth fruit. Remember, we're supposed to be fruitful. That's another point here. Some 100, some 60, and some 30-fold. So one seed falls into the ground and produces 100. Is that multiplication? It is. So we have the same command coming forth in the New Testament as we did in the very beginning. In the very beginning, the same command you've had since the beginning. To be fruitful and multiply. Let's go back over here. Remember, I went over the word to replenish, to fill. Well, let's go look in Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 14. Oh, got the wrong one. Sorry about that. Habakkuk. It's chapter 2, verse 14. It says, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters that cover the sea. And in another place in the Bible, it specifically says that Christ is the brightness of God's glory. So the earth, the inner man, is going to be covered with the light or the knowledge or the Christ of the Lord, as the waters that cover the sea. So Christ is our baptism. And it says the earth is going to be filled. He says, go forth and replenish the earth. Fill the earth. You see, nothing's changed. Nothing ever changes. God doesn't change. He's given the same commands from the very beginning. From the very beginning. And now let's go look and see even more. Okay? We're going to go look at the word subdue. Remember, it says, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. And subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air. We're going to go look at subdue and dominion, okay? We have subdue right here. Kabosh means to subdue or bring into bondage, okay? To subdue, to bring into bondage. Force into bondage, to assault, to trample, to tread underfoot. I hope y'all catch that. Tread underfoot. And you, Christ, the inner man, shall bruise his head, and he shall bruise your heel. Christ is going to trample these underfoot. The inner man is going to trample underfoot the outer man and subdue the outer man. Okay. He said to replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion. Dominion over it. Have dominion. Okay? We're going to look at this one. To reign, to have dominion, to rule, to dominate. There's the heaven, the inner man. Dominate the earth, the outer man. Okay, so let's go look and see if we're still to have to put the earth into submission. Let's go look and see. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 27. All right, we're on 1 Corinthians 9. Is that right? Verse 27. Here we are. But know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? One. Remember that. One. There's one seed. We'll get to that in just a minute. The seed's very important. One receiveth the prize. So run that ye may obtain. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now those who are on the outside, those who are not Christ's, those who compete in races and things like that, they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. Therefore, so run, not as uncertainly. And he says, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body, and I bring it into subjection. I'm going to stop right there. He says, and I bring it into subjection. Remember, he said, go subdue the earth. He said, subdue the earth. Remember, we're going to go back real fast. Let's go. Well, we'll go look at this word subjection. He said, subdue it. To enslave, figuratively, to subdue, to bring into subjection, to treat as a slave. It's the word doulologeo, from doulos as a bond slave, and to lead or bring along. Properly to lead as a captive, to bring into subjection, fully compliant with the will of a master. And who is the master? The inner man, Christ. Is your outer man being brought into full compliance with the will of the outer man? Of the inner man, of the master? He says, I keep under my body and bring it into subjection. Let's go look over here again. Genesis 1. He said, subdue it and have dominion over it. Dominion. To reign. I want to go look over here and show you a little something right there where I was just at. When Paul, it says that he keeps his body under. He says, I keep my body under. This is just something that throw in on the side that I want you to realize. Like, we look at these words and we look at them in the English and we think that, well, I keep under my body. What does that even mean in the English? Click on it in the Greek and find out what that means. To keep under. To keep under. You're going to love this one. To strike under the eye. To strike under the eye, hence to bruise, to treat severely, to discipline by hardship, to molest, to annoy, to harass, to worry, and to exhaust. And what did it say? That Christ would bruise the serpent's head and he would bruise his heel? To strike under the eye, to bruise, to treat severely. And your seed. We may have to go into Genesis here in a minute and check out this since we're going to go into seed. But we're going to go look here. He says, I keep my body under. Like, I imagine Christ with his foot on the head of the serpent and us beating our body into subjection. The same image. The Christ with his foot on the serpent's head and us beating our body into submission. The inner man beating the outer man into submission. Let's go back to Genesis and we're going to go on. We're going to go look at the food we've been given to eat. At the food we've been given to eat. Do you mean that God gave us specific food for us to eat? Remember, he gave us his flesh to eat in the New Testament, which is truth, which is his blood, and his body to eat, and his blood to drink, which is to eat and drink of truth, and to be covered all over, inside and out. That's what it means to eat of truth. It means to cover your conscience, your understanding, your mind with the knowledge and the glory of the Lord. Just like we went and saw in Habakkuk. Okay, it says, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree. Remember a man, whenever he was getting his eyes healed by Jesus, he says, He got them part way healed and they weren't completely healed. He says, I see men as trees walking. And every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. Remember, this word seed is singular, not plural. Singular, there's one seed, and it's Christ in you, the hope of glory. So you're allowed to consume those from people who have the seed of Christ in them. You're allowed to eat of any green tree or any herb of the field that has Christ's seed growing in it. To you it shall be for meat. To you it shall be for meat. You see this? For eating, for food. All right, now we're going to go on and we're going to look up, okay, since we've found these seeds, okay, I'm going to finish reading this. Hold on. It says, which is yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. And then he specifies a different food for the beasts of the earth and the fowl of the air and to every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. He says, unto every beast of the earth and every fowl of the air and everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. You notice God skipped the seed. He skipped the seed when he began speaking of the beast, the outer man. The outer man. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So he said the birds of the air and the fowl and the beast, the outer man, would eat the herb. And we would eat the herb bearing seed and the tree bearing seed. You notice there's a difference in that, right? Let's go look in Galatians 3:16. Real fast. Galatians 3:16. It says, now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He saith not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one. And to thy seed, which is Christ. There's one seed in all of us. There's not more than one seed, more than one Christ. There's one Christ. That seed is in all of us, and we're allowed to partake of those trees and that green grass that bears seed. And this I say, that the covenant that was confirmed before of God and Christ, of the law. I'm not going to go on further there. That was just where I wanted to show you, was that the seed. And we're going to go further with the seed. We're going to go to 1 John chapter 3, verse 9. Chapter 3, verse 9 says, whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin. That's the inner man born in you. That's the birth from above. That's Christ within. And he cannot sin. Whoever is born of God doth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. You see, the seed within us cannot sin, but the outer man still tries to sin constantly. So here we are. Whoever is born of God, Christ, the inner man, birthed of God, cannot sin, for his seed remaineth in him. Do you see how important this chapter is? Just Genesis, and working your way through the Bible to look at all these amazing things about the seed, and about ruling and dominion, and the bruising of the head, and laying your body under. Let's go back and even look at keeping my body under. Let's go look and see if that's a truth of the Bible from Genesis. Keep my body under. I beat my body under the eye. You see that? I strike under the eye. Strike in the head as if to give a black eye. I'll go down and actually show it. It says, properly to strike under the eye, i.e., giving someone a black eye. Let's go look. Let's go look real fast. In Genesis chapter 3. And look down here. In verse 15, it says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed, singular, and her seed. the woman's seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Bruise. To bruise. Let's look at that word and see if it matches up. To bruise. What is a black eye? Isn't this amazing? Look at this definition here. To bruise is a black eye. But there's another definition for this word, to bruise. And what is this? What is that definition that we found? I didn't even go into it a while ago. But I can go back to it real fast. Remember, look at this. To overwhelm. 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 Remember, we had a word a minute ago that said to whelm. Let's go look, because I didn't actually click on it. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 28 one more time, okay? Go to Matthew chapter 28, right here in Matthew chapter 28. And he says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them." How about bruising them? How about whelming them? How about covering them, multiplying upon them? How about staining them and dyeing them, bruising them? This word says to dip or to sink, and you know that's just Strong's words. Let's go over here, and let's look down here at the bottom to make sure we haven't got anything that it needs to tell us down here at the very bottom. There's a lot to go into to look at it down here. Okay. Right here in the very bottom, I'm going to click the word just so you can see it right here. See that word? See that word? It says whelmed. To make whelmed or fully covered. Whelmed. Derivation of bapto. Remember, bapto was to cover with a stain or a dye. To dye. I dye. You see that right there? D-Y-E. It means to cover with something that's not going to come off. The pitch that Noah pitched the ark with was a red stained dye, and it didn't come off. The ark that Moses was in was pitched with a dye, with a pitch within and without to keep it from leaking. And it didn't come off. It changed it forever. Let's go back and look again. So we've got bapto and baptizo, to cover or to whelm. And we were here in Genesis chapter 3:15. It says to overwhelm, to cover all over, to bruise. And remember, Paul said he beats his body into submission. There is nothing changed from the beginning. You've had the same commandment from the beginning till now. Do you do it? Do you do what God says? Do you beat your body into submission? Do you bruise the head of the serpent? Do you bruise the head of the serpent? Do you follow God's commands that have been given from the beginning? I love you all, brothers and sisters. You have a blessed, wonderful day. Stay strong in the Lord. Jesus loves you.